Well, it's finally here. The new ACDC album drops today. Hi, guys. Welcome to Classic Guitar Rock. I'm Jeremy. And today is the day ACDC's new album, Power Up, is released. It's their 17th album total, 16th international release. And it brings back I can't say the original band, but the lineup we've been used to, minus Malcolm, obviously, after his death. But we've got Angus there, Phil Rudd's back on the drums, Cliff Williams is on bass, and Brian Johnson is back, and Angus's nephew Stevie Young on rhythm guitar. What can you say about ACDC? It's funny. Right after I listened to Power Up, I went back and listened to Back in Black. Is Power Up as good as Back in Black? No, the songs aren't as good. But the thing that I appreciate about ACDC is that they always sound like ACDC. And that's something that they're sometimes slammed for. But you know what? I like putting in a CD or putting a record on the turntable of ACDC, and it's ACDC. You know, they are reliable, like Big Ben the Clock, right? I mean, you know what you're gonna get. And this album doesn't disappoint. I mean, like I said, it's not Back in Black. I like it better than Flick of the Switch. I like it better than Fly on the Wall. I like it better. I mean, to me, it's the best thing they've done in quite a while. The hooks are there. You know, you got the traditional riffs. I mean, it's an ACDC album. I mean, it sounds good. Is it awesome? I don't think I'll call it an awesome album, but for me, it's like an old friend coming back, you know? And it's good to hear Brian Johnson back. Brian Johnson is 73 years old, and he sounds pretty good on this album. You know, the guitars are great. There's nothing earth-shaking. But I think ACDC fans will be happy. You know, pedestrian fans, you know, folks that aren't really big fans of ACDC, they'll probably say, well, this is the same thing they've been doing for 50 years. And it is. But I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. And pardon my analogy, but this is what I thought of as I listened to this. Remember when you were a kid and you watched Mr. Rogers? Okay? Mr. Rogers had this great jazz music. You know, had the classic, well, not classic, the jazzy piano always playing underneath. And in the whole time Mr. Rogers was on, he never tried to be hip. He never tried to be cool, compared to Sesame Street, which if you sit down and try and watch Sesame Street with your grandkids now, it's like a completely different thing. And it's nowhere near as good because they've tried to be cool, right? They bring celebrities on. They play, you know, more modern music, and they just try to be cool and hip instead of being good like Mr. Rogers was. So that's a silly analogy. But the thing I appreciated about Mr. Rogers from the time I actually watched it as a kid, and then the last few years when my little kids were still able to watch, it never changed. Okay? It was always the same. ACDC is the same way, right? It's never changed, and it's always the same. I mean, it changed with the death of Bon Scott. But since Brian has been at the helm way longer than Bon ever was, by the way, it's been consistent, right? It's been consistent. And this album continues that legacy, right? Good songs, some politically incorrect songs, as you would expect from ACDC, but a really, you know, it's a solid album. I think you'll like it if you're an ACDC fan. The album was produced by Brendan O'Brien, who also produced Rocker Bust and Razor's Edge. But like I said, it's got the whole gang there: Angus, Brian, Phil, Cliff, and Angus's nephew Stevie Young on rhythm guitars. The album is actually dedicated to Malcolm. In fact, it says that all songs are by Angus and Malcolm Young. So these are apparently, and it makes sense because when you go back and listen to them, they sound like they might have been around for a while, right? But all these songs have been in existence since before Malcolm died. The standouts for me, I think Realize, which is the leadoff song, is a good song. Shot in the Dark is good. Through the Mists of Time, which is kind of an interesting title for an AC/DC song, and I guess one of the more introspective AC/DC songs you'll hear. And I think it's got a few extra chords. You know, they're up in their game from 3 chords. This one might have 4 or 5 chords. It's good. Kick You When You're Down, good. Demon Fire's good. No Man's Land I liked. I mean, it's kind of hard to differentiate one from the other. They all have the AC/DC swagger and the AC/DC groove. Again, I think that's a good thing. So if you are an AC/DC fan, you need to have this album. If you're kind of more a passive fan, I think you'll like it. And you won't be disappointed. It's, like I said, got the hooks, got the groove. One of the great things about AC/DC is their use of space, right? Is they'll have a solid drum beat and the riff, and they don't try and fill every measure with stuff. They let the songs breathe. And I've always liked that about AC/DC. And they just prove the point that simple can be really good. And, you like some constants in the world. You like Mr. Rogers always being the same. You like AC/DC always being the same. And so we get more of it. And great to have Brian back. A fun album. I think you'll like it. So check it out. I'd be interested to hear what you think. So let me know in the comments. If you haven't done so yet, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on Classic Guitar Rock. Bye-bye.